Well, it's hard to say what really got me into gaming. I played a lot of games growing up. Nintendo, Atari, my dad. Probably mostly my dad, even though he didn't get me into miniature gaming per se. He did get me into like watching Conan when I was like 2 or 3, and X-Men. He got me into all the cool stuff. And then from there, I played games. Bought this magazine. I don't even remember what the magazine was called, but it had Doom in it. And I thought Doom was hot stuff back in like '98, whenever it came out on Super Nintendo, and probably older than that. But in that magazine, there was Magic the Gathering, and it had how to play. And like any kid in like 6th or 7th grade, I took it back to school and showed all my friends. And in art class, we copied all the cards and made decks out of construction paper. And from there, we moved on to role playing. We tried out a couple different systems. The Decipher Star Wars game had a pretty long run with us. Even though I can't say we ever played a real game, boy did we love those cards. And then in high schoolish times, my one friend talked me into buying the 3rd edition Fantasy Starter. He took the rule book, said he was going to read it, and then we never talked about it again because he lost it. But I had that orc half of that starter set, and that was my first Warhammer stuff. Even though we never used it, I always had it sitting around. I actually have a lot more orcs now. I'm hoping to paint them soon. Around the same time, we also got Mage Knight and the Mech Warrior Clickies. We recently pulled those out. Mech Warrior Clickies are pretty awesome now that they're like $3. And then, we went back and forth between games we liked, like most groups do. And after getting a decent job, and pretty much everybody in our group getting a decent job, the one day the guys came over and they're like, "Hey Paul, you want to come get peer pressured into playing Warhammer with us?" And they took me to a store, and I sat there and watched them play, and they surrounded me with models. I had seen the models before. I'd seen tie-dye Space Marines in a store and thought they were cool looking. And I played Dawn of War too when that came out. We played the crap out of Dawn of War, like it was nobody's business. And that gave me a love for dreadnoughts, assault marines, drop pods landing on people, everything Dawn of War is known for. And so when they said, so what army are you going to buy? First off, I was like, Chaos is cool, Necrons are cool, I'm going to be cheap and buy the starter set. And so that was my first Space Marines. And like the next week I bought a Dreadnought, the next week I bought something else, and the next week I bought something else. And next thing you know, I had 3,000 points of Space Marines that were all gray. And painting became a big thing. Like I wanted to have a painted army. I always enjoyed painting like model airplanes and cars and stuff growing up. And I always enjoyed like miniatures, like the miniature part of role playing. And I actually tried to make stuff when I was a kid all the time, and looking back it was really terrible, but some of it turned out decent. Well, I originally made the blog to track a tournament league I was starting among our friends to get us all painting and playing, because we all bought all these models and then never got together to play with them. So when Paul's Basement League first started, it was to be Paul's Basement League. I was going to keep track of everybody's stats and put the pictures of when we'd get together and play, maybe type a battle report or two up here or there. And, it stuck to that formula for a while. And then I saw other blogs, and From the Warp was a big thing for me. Mostly because I thought that Space Marine with the Major League Baseball looked sweet. And I wanted that on my website. So then, seeing like what other people did on their blogs, I tried to be a little more hobby oriented with stuff I posted. I'm not as awesome as like Jawa Balls, or I don't have the strategies of Fritz. I don't have the painting skills of Les Bursley or Dave Taylor. But, you know, Ron said, put the stuff out there because maybe it'll help somebody. And so I did. Well, I can kind of see this like going, I don't know, towards more video. I'd like to do videos like this where we get to know the players. I'd like to try and get different styles of battle reports out there. What they did for Adepticon with like the overhead shots, I like that. We actually had thought about it a couple weeks before Adepticon had happened. We were like, you know what? What if we stuck cameras over top? And it was like you're playing on Vassal, but with your real models and a real picture. We can make really fast time lapses instead of cameras turning on and turning off. So you can actually see the whole game being played. So I'd like to move into trying to do stuff like that if we can get it figured out. Armies I own besides Space Marines would have to conclude Chaos. I had a friend buy a buttload of Chaos, and then he wanted me to paint it, so he left it here. And that was it. He got married, we never saw him again. So I've got thousands of points of Chaos. I've got a Forge World Warhound Titan, all the Chaos fighter jets and bombers, Greater Demons. He left all that stuff here. And it's slowly been getting painted. I enjoy playing with his Purge army. Had another friend move to Japan. He left me his pink Eldar. Ugliest things I've ever seen in my life. They're like pink, baby blue, and gold, and he loves them. But we're going to secretly repaint them. And hopefully he doesn't watch this and find out. Also, I have Tau. We had a friend who played Tau. He actually played Tyranids. Then he played Tau. Then he played Orcs. But he's that guy that sells an army, buys a new army, sells it, buys a new army, sells it, buys a new army. His Tau, he didn't sell. He got robbed, and while they were smashing his house apart and stealing all of his expensive stuff like TVs and computers, they stepped on all his crisis suits. So he gave me like his tanks and fire warriors that weren't destroyed. And that was a big start on my Tau army. I originally wanted to just do Tau for doubles, but like everything, I'm a terrible war gamer and I like my plastic crack, and I bought a lot more. And it's mostly sitting half built and in boxes. I also have Battle Sisters. I bought Battle Sisters to be allies for my Space Marines back when they could do that. Although I guess they still can. But nobody does that stuff anymore. Unless you're cheesy with Vulcan. Losers. But I bought Battle Sisters, and then, like all things, it went from being 2 squads to 1,500 points. And I think that's about it for my 40k armies. I did just recently get some Dark Eldar off of eBay because they were dirt cheap. I min-bid and won them. So they're going to be taking a dive into the Power Dissolver. I love Power Dissolver. That's like my new best friend. And oh yeah, I have Tyranids. When Apocalypse came out, I bought Tyranids. The big box of Carnifexes and the big box with the Hive Tyrant and all that stuff he came. I think it was Zoanthropes and Hive Guard, but probably not Tyrant Guard. I got those boxes and Battle for Macragge Gene Stealers, and that was my Nidzilla. I love that army for like the 5 times I played it, because nobody ever wanted to play with me again after I tabled them on turn 4. So that's pretty much it for all my 40k armies. Fantasy, I've got Orcs and Dark Elves and some Dwarves floating around, but that's about it. My first tournament was the War Store weekend. It was up in North Jersey in the Meadowlands. It was a blast, honestly. If anybody watching this has been on the fence about going to a tournament, they're not the terrible things that you would think they are from reading on the internet about all the whack players and cheaters and all that stuff. Everybody there was there to have a good time, throw dice, and be exhausted at the end of the day. The biggest thing I learned there was if you're gonna lose, lose all the way, because they give the loser a prize, and I enjoy that prize every time I play now.